Good evening, everybody. We are in Parashat Rabbi, that is Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 26. On the sheets, you turn it over one time and halfway down, it says 27. So we are on chapter 11, verse 27. I'll read the first bracha. I'll read the first verse anyway. See, which is Re'eh, Anochi noten lifnechem hayom brachu klala. I present before you today a blessing and a curse. Okay, our verse. The blessing that you listen to the commandment of Hashem, your God, that I command you today. And the curse, we'll read 28. If you do not listen to the commandments of Hashem, your God, and you stray from the path that I command you today to follow the gods of others that you did not know. Et habrocha asher tishma'u el mitvot Hashem Elokechem asher nochi mitzaveh eschem hayom. And then 28, v'haklala im lo tishma'u el mitvot Hashem Elokechem v'sartem min haderech asher nochi mitzaveh etchem hayom lalechet acharei Elohim acherim asher lo yedatem. So the Kli Yakar begins by focusing our attention. It says, Es habracha asher tishma'u. Right? And the bracha, the blessing, that you listen to the commandments of Hashem your God. B'kol makom shehizkir hishmiya. He's telling us as if he is a concordance. Every time, any place that hishmiya, that listening is mentioned in Tanakh, or at least let's say the first 5 books, Yesh Acharav, you'll always find after it Asiya, Ushmira, or Avoda. You'll find some kind of action following the listening. Listen and do. Listen and guard. Listen and serve. There's some kind of an action that is a follow-through to the listening. And he gives 2 examples. One is earlier on in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 12. If you want to look. V'hoya ekev tishma'un, right? And if you listen, that was, as we said, ekev was the chukim, but to mishpatim, and you guard them and you do them, that those words, guarding and doing, appear right there. And another place in our chapter, verse 13. That means 11:13. If you look earlier, it said, Vayim Shemoah, right? We see this in the Shema. And it will be if you listen, or if you surely listen, Ula'avdo b'chol lebavchem, and you serve Hashem with your whole heart. You see that after the word Hashmiya, or any kind of Shmiya of listening, there is a follow-through with the concept of an action. Now he begins with the whole basis for our discussion tonight. Lefi shahashmiya ein bo ki im kabbalas devarim b'machshava levad. What is listening? Listening, like we say, Shema Yisrael. Listen, O Israel. We want to basically be saying, understand Israel. Listening, when you hear something, someone's talking to you and you're nodding your head, you're basically saying, I understand. Yes, I'm listening. Listening means understanding, so it has to do something with what's going in between these 2 organs, right? Your 2 ears. There's something, let's say, colette. It's absorbing it, it's recording it, it's trying to decipher it, the information, and it's thinking about it. Listening means thinking about. Listen, Israel, think about this. I am the Lord your God, right? And there's no other. Okay, so we're going on to this idea that the idea of listening is all that it is a thinking alone. That's all. It's a receiving. It's saying, okay, I hear your mitzvahs, I hear them, and I'm willing to do them, but I didn't do anything yet. I just am willing to. Shikabe olav lasoto, that I'm willing and I'm accepting to do them, but I didn't do any action. It's just the thinking. We have to agree, anybody listening to this knows that's really not enough. Just to think about it, just to even pledge, right? There's a opportunity to give lots of money to a charity, so you make a pledge. Is that enough? There has to be a follow through. Okay, so it's not enough. Elitzari gam asiya b'foel. What you need to do is to follow through. There has to be some kind of action to bring it into fruition. Shechei ne'emar, that's how we understand now what we're about to say. When it comes to the klala, if you read in verse 28, you saw that there was an action, and you strayed from the path, right? And the curse if you do not listen to the commandments of Hashem your God, and you stray from the path. There's actually an action mentioned in that verse. But by the curse, by the blessing, there was a lack of any statement of action. So even though we say normally when you talk about listening, there's always a follow through with action, in our verse, there is no follow through with action. Now look at the verse. It says, "V'klala im lo tishma'u," right? And the curse, if you don't listen, "Besarta min derech," and you remove yourself from the path, you go off the derech. Im kain kasha. If that's the case, then we certainly have a very legitimate question. Here is his question. Hoy lomar, shouldn't it have said? It's certainly logic demands that it would have said, Et habrach asher tishma'u, right? The blessing which you will listen. V'halachtem b'derech, and you follow the path. You walk on the path. That's an action. And it doesn't say any action, doesn't mention any action, and the only reason he picked those words, because that would have been consistent with removing yourself in the negative sense for the klala, for the curse, for the positive brach that would have said or should have said, and you went on the path, you followed through with an action. V'chiyesh dai b'shmiya lavad below asiyah? This is a rhetorical question. Is it really enough in the listening alone without any action? And this is, as I mentioned, this first paragraph is really going to be the basis for tonight's discussion.
So this is then for like an asay that as long as you think about doing an asay and you don't do it, you still get schar mitzvah?
No, it's when you want to do it and something prevents you from doing it, then you get credit as if you did it. That's for sure. Now, what we're going to say, and I don't want to give it away, is that what's the bracha you get for having good thoughts? Ready? Guys, tune into this. Just for having good thoughts, I actually connect with God and He assists me to follow through. And that will be proven shortly. Okay? Hine, so noi necha. Behold, raise your eyes to the heavens. Urei ma shekatavnu lamala b'Parshas Lech Lecha, and see what I wrote earlier in Parshas Lech Lecha. This is such a fundamental concept. Bemet shneimar. Now I want you to look at Genesis 12, verse 3. This is the famous verse. I'll read it in English, even though I don't have it here. I will bless those who bless you, and those who curse you, I will curse. So in Hebrew, V'yarvarcha m'varechecha, God is saying first, and I put a comma there for a reason. I will bless those who bless you. I, God, am already blessing you. I, God, am already blessing those, or I will bless those that bless you. Now God knows what everyone's going to do in the future. So I'm blessing those that bless you. When it comes to the curse, it says, and those that curse you, I will curse. It's not symmetrical. The people have to curse first for God to curse them. Whereas by the blessing, God's already blessing before the person takes the action. This is like the slam dunk proof of what we had just said. And this is how he's introducing it. Therefore, that's why he prefaced, he put first his blessing to those who are going to bless you. Why? Because when it comes to good thoughts, then whenever this phrase is used, it's like the verse becomes your life. It's the verse is being placed upon you. That's a famous phrase that we use a lot of times. Just for thinking the good thought of blessing, God is going to come and bless you, because the good thoughts alone, it's as if you're living that verse. Aval machshava ra, but when it comes to negative or evil thoughts, ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitzaref l'maaseh. Hashem does not make that connection between the thought and the action. When it's positives, and I don't know how it works with electricity. I'm not sure there's any kind of I know there's positives and negatives when it comes to like batteries. But anyway, every male in my family is an electrician. I know there's positive and negatives. But anyway, so you have these two positives. For some reason, Hashem is mitzaref. He'll mamish combine them. But when it comes to a negative, it doesn't work. It doesn't connect. There actually has to be a fulfillment, a full fulfillment or follow through the negative action for that curse to then take place. Now, according to this, everything he just said, we don't really need to go into detail because that was talked about in Parashat Lech Lecha. But get this straight, that the curse certainly does not apply. There's no application of the curse until after you didn't listen. So the not listening alone is not enough. But once you, right, let's read it again. The klala certainly does not apply until after you didn't listen. And what does that mean? As he's about to say, the not listening, or let's say like this. It's not that the not listening is enough. It's what he's about to say. And you removed yourself from the derech mamish. Besarta min derech mamish. So let's go back and read that again. That the klala is not going to apply just because you didn't listen, but because you also did the follow-through action of leaving the way, acting in a way you're not supposed to. So if you had a thought to leave the way, but you never followed through, something prevented you, you're not held accountable as if you did it, right? Let's say you want to rob a bank, you plan it out, and then you don't rob the bank for whatever reason. The car broke down, someone else robbed the bank, you come in there, you ever see those movies? The guys come in, there's already somebody standing there robbing the bank, so you run out, you didn't rob the bank. You're not a criminal in God's eyes. Let's say you want to do something positive, you want to help this old lady cross the street, and someone else grabs her first and crosses the street with her. It's as if you did it, because you wanted to and something prevented you from doing it. Okay.
Does that work for pledging tzedakah?
Could you wait 2 lines to ask that question? You know that it doesn't. Well, I shouldn't say that. Let's say it has to. If you really wanted to and something prevented you. Let's say you had every intent to follow through. You had the money in the bank, and then let's just say the stocks crashed, the bank was closed, you couldn't, whatever. If something prevented you from following through, the answer has to be yes. Aval habracha tachul miyad achra shmiya levad. But the blessing becomes applicable just after the listening alone. Remember, the listening is just the machshav, it's just the thought process. Kedei, this is the most important line of this paragraph, Kedei shekabala habracha yeh lo le'ezer l'shiyach lahotzi min hakoach et machshavto atova ayidei hasarat hamonim. Why is the bracha already applicable immediately after the willingness to do it, even though you didn't follow through? Because that bracha is now coming, God's giving you bracha. Bracha means like this intimate relationship with God where you're connecting with the source and He's giving you influence, hashpah, in order that you should receive this blessing, that He will be there to help you, to help you fulfill your potential of what you originally had in mind, this good thought in mind. And how is it done? Through removing the obstacles. Hashem then helps you. How does he help you? By removing the obstacles. That's the bracha that is already in place. Isn't that amazing?
So,
This is not simple like, wash your hands 3 times. Okay?
I just want to know, this might be a deep one, is intent. Does this have any Kabbalistic thing to it?
Everything does.
But can you maybe elaborate
I
a little
mean,
bit on it?
yeah.
Go a little bit on that path?
Look, emanation.
Mhm.
I'm going to try not to because I'm really not an expert on this.
Okay.
But emanation
First
is
you-
like the highest level.
Mhm.
Like the whole world exists because there's emanating thoughts from God. So emanation is like the highest and the most powerful thing. So if we could really keep it's emanating from us, and it is pure. What we look at during the day, what we think about during the day, is going to help us with the bracha. It says, there's an idea, anywhere you make fences about erva means not just illicit relations, but things you're not supposed to, nakedness. Okay? When you put fences towards nakedness, around nakedness, that could be modesty in the bathroom, it could be how you walk down the street, who you look at, how you look at them. Remember, the first glance was free, and then after that you have to pay for it. So basically, it says that wherever you find this fence towards erva, that's where you find kedusha. So a fence is a get there, but it's also, the word kadosh means separate. So by building the fence, you're separating yourself. Kadosh means separate, distinct. So when you build that fence, when I say a fence, you're talking about a border. People have borders, right? You don't get too close to a woman, physically. So you build these borders for yourself. What you're building is holiness, kedusha. And this is going to help you in your thoughts, what's going to emanate. Right? You're guarding your eyes. What's wrong with where your eyes go? Because what you see is then what you think about. So if you need to guard your thoughts, when you talk about lashon hara, you talk. There's nothing wrong with talking, but choose what you're talking about wisely. So I think this is how we know we're going to receive a bracha when we make these fences for ourselves. Fences create kedusha. And it could be like we say that the Jewish people shall dwell alone. We are distinct, peculiar people we are. Unique, one, separate, and that's the holiness. When we talk about separateness, we talk about holiness.
And is there any further Kabbalistic idea behind it? Like I heard this before, of course, and by the way, every Shabbos, Havdalah, you read this. But what's the Kabbalistic principle behind this fencing? Like, if you go deeper in what you just said, because it's very profound, but if you could go even deeper, like where does it touch something?
I don't know, we'll have to look it up later.
Alright, nice.
Uma shenemar asher tishvu. Notice the words. When it says about the blessing, it says, which you listen to. The blessing that you listen to. It's almost a guaranteed thing. Asher is used. That which you listen to. The bracha is which you listen to. When it comes to the klala, look what it says. It says, the curse if you don't listen. It's not consistent. There's a inconsistency. It's not symmetrical. When it comes to the bracha, use the words asher. When it comes to the klala, when it comes to the curse, it says im, if. So why is that? Any guesses here? Any ideas?
Because Hashem helps you to do mitzvot.
Look, the next 5 words says it. L'kvoidan shel Yisrael amarkein. Because God is giving honor to the Jewish people by saying such a thing. This is God's words. It's like, you have a person and you talk to them and you know that they're committed and they're responsible. So you say, like, when you get around to doing it. But let's say you want to give like an underhanded cut. You're talking about taking out the garbage to your kids. So it's not a matter of when. If you want to cut them, which you shouldn't, but if you want to insult somebody, you say if. If you ever get around to doing it. So which you will do, it's a guaranteed thing. So the person has confidence in you, and he's building you up. But if you say if, now this is a negative. So if it would come about, that means it's a possibility. It's just opening up the idea that it's a possibility that you might not listen. So listening, for sure you're going to do. Not listening, you might do. So why did God say that? For the honor of Israel. Ki'ilu einan chashudim be'einav shelo yishma'u v'lo yikablu aleihem la'asot mitzvos Hashem afilu b'machshava. At least when it came to the thought process, listening, remember we squarely put across the idea of listening in the thought arena, okay? So when it comes to thinking about it, God is saying, I have no doubt, I don't suspect you for one moment that you're not going to listen, and therefore, right, by not listening, you're not accepting to do the mitzvahs of God. Of course you're going to listen. Why? Because it's only machshava, it's only thought. And kulei hai lo pakar. For sure, just thinking about the Jewish people are not going to throw that kind of yoke off. It's not so hard. Umistama kol ish miYisrael yachashov la'asot mitzvahs. Because the general concept is that most likely every Jew will consider to do the will of God. Ki machshava kol ha'ma'od. Because thoughts alone are very easy. However, when it comes to the action, when it comes to the follow-through, okay, then there's an opening for doubt. Perhaps the work will become overwhelming and difficult. Here he uses the word heavy. And they will become lax or negligent in the follow-through, lazy. Lechach amar, that's why it says, et habracha asher tishmu, regarding the blessing which you will listen to. When it comes to listening, we have no doubt. Ki yadati vadai v'tishmu'u uskablu bilvavchem la'sotam. God's saying, I know with absolute certainty that you will listen and you will accept upon yourselves within your hearts to do that. Va'az yishlach Hashem es habracha. And then Hashem sends the bracha. And I think this is really the key on how we know that the Jewish people are blessed. Because as a nation, I have no doubt that we all have good intent. What does it mean that Hashem knows that we're going to accept this in our heart? Then he's going to send the blessing. And again, he stresses, what's the blessing? That through the blessing, becomes removed from us all of those impediments, all of those things that are preventing us from doing it, at least externally. Shemi bachutz. And then we're capable and we're able to bring forth what we have in our minds into action. Ki ha'adam ha'matchil, what happens is, man, all our job is to begin. It's not upon us to finish it, right? As Pirkei Avot says. And Hashem is Yigmor Olah. Hashem is the one who finishes it. I want you to look to Psalms 57, verse 3. It says, I call upon God Most High, to the God who fulfills for me. In Hebrew, it's Yigmor. Who fulfills for me really means here, who is Gamar Alai. We're talking about who finishes for me. I'm the one who starts it, but Hashem, through His blessing, assists me, and I would consider that the blessing of God that he finishes this for us. L'chaf ne'amar, now we understand when it says es habracha. What's the word es mean? You look in a dictionary, it can mean and, it can mean this, it can mean that. It has a million definitions because it has no definition. It's like filler. And of course we know that the Gemara explains that Rabbi Akiva and some of his colleagues, they went out of their way. Every aleph taf in the Torah they went and tried to explain. So this es habracha, kol es l'rabos bo, it always comes to add something. The question is what? It comes to add something. Ki habracha bo l'rabos hamasa sheyachal l'val yidah. That the bracha actually comes to add and increase the action that's capable of coming through the bracha. Aval beklala, when it comes to the curse, nemar lashon im, it uses aleph mem. Why? On account of ba'avur v'sartem min derech. The if is not really going on the listening per se, but it's going on the action that comes after the listening, or the lack of listening, which is you will remove, or you have removed yourself from the way. And that's an action that only comes after, that is said after lo tishma'u, right? Lo tishma'u, im lo tishma'u, and then later on it talks about this action. Ki b'zeh hayem mesupak im ye'ulo. Because the im is going on the action, we don't know if you actually will do it or not. Okay, not listening, we don't expect. But if you follow through, that reflects back that you weren't listening. But it's the action that makes all the difference, as we said in the beginning. Ki yachol liyot sheyitrashlu b'foel. Because what can happen? You become negligent in fulfillment of the action. You may not, even if you have you want to rob the bank, you may not rob the bank in the end. You may wake up late, your alarm might not go off. Whatever may happen, may happen. Ki v'sartem min derech. So now we understand what it says, and you remove yourself from the way. That is actually explaining on what we said earlier about not listening. She'ena kavana bo shmiya b'makshava levad. It's not talking, it's intent when it says, you weren't listening. It wasn't talking about only listening and thought alone, but the shmiya, but rather the shmiya, there is in it an asiyah. It's only the listening and machshava that concludes with an action. That's when a klala comes into reality, is only when you have the fulfillment, God forbid, of the negative action. The thought alone is not enough.